Chapter 21, Following the Past. The Range Rover takes a shortcut by cutting through the city of Napa, a wily shortcut. It is tourist season now, and Highway 29 is not the way to go. There reside the bulk of the valley's wineries, and the thoroughfare divides the largest and most popular vineyards. The vacationers drive their rentals as if they were a bumper car ride at an alcoholic Disneyland for adults. Automobiles weave in and out of lanes. Napa runs a pretty fragile economy, much like that of an island nation. The tourist season fills the hotels and restaurants. The wineries sell bottle after bottle and case after case. And of course, the tasting tours. These amount to little more than $5 sips from commemorative wine glasses bearing the winery's logo. Proof they can keep. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Of course, no self-respecting city could withstand that many drunk drivers without doing something about it. Law enforcement is enlisted to keep the roads safe for other motorists and pedestrians, to protect drivers from themselves, and to earn the county a pretty penny in the process. The unofficial motto of Napa County is, "Come on vacation, leave on probation." Coyote trails the Range Rover, keeping a distance of about 200 yards. He speeds up when necessary, but mostly just hangs back. He gets closer to the SUV when it turns left onto the Silverado Trail. He may have been seen but not noticed. He can see Apollo riding in the death seat, with the blonde in the back. Coyote looks, but he has no idea who the driver is. He's not sure how this newcomer plays out in this strange scenario, but it seems likely that he has a part. Coyote hopes it's not a very large one. The road winds past lesser-known wineries. No Mondavis or Beringers on this side. Few drivers meant higher visibility for Coyote. Nothing to do but watch the road. Watch the road. Coyote finds his mind wandering. Here he is, tracking Apollo into the valley, because someone, and he's not even sure who, is paying him to do it. Coyote would be paid well, of course. There would be money, but more importantly, his station would rise. Coyote would become more powerful, and could return to the reservation. Those who ostracized him all those years ago would kneel before him. Hundreds of years ago, Coyote was considered a great god amongst the Native Americans in California. Some traditional folklore had him linked to the creation of light, of man, even the earth. But that was before the invasion of the white man into the Native American territories. The white man brought with them their own religion and killed off those who did not convert. The natives were given two choices: turn your back on your faith or die. Often, they were killed regardless. Coyote is reputed to have created Napa and Sonoma counties. He knew this area well, but still marveled at the changes. The crops were obviously quite different. Wine was not held in high regard in those days. In that time, Coyote carried pemmican, dried meat pounded together with kidney fat and berries. It must taste better than it sounds. But today, wine rules the valley. It was not to be this way. Of this, Coyote is sure. Coyote was not always a bad guy in the Native American pantheon. Like the Greek titan Prometheus, he stole fire so that humans could use it to keep warm during the winter months. Like Persephone, the goddess of the spring, he taught Eagle about the renewal of the earth every 6 months. Like the Christian God, he is fabled to have created mankind itself. And this may be where the trouble begins. Christian settlers conquered those western tribes. They came with rifles, weapons that seemed to shoot blazes of fire from their very tip. The Native American gods fled, crow and eagle to the skies, cougar to the safety of the mountains. The gods of thunder and lightning passed their reigns over. Soon, it was but Coyote standing for the people. But those people betrayed him. They were weak. They feared death at the hands of the white man. Coyote could not, or rather would not, defend such a group of cowards. They had lost belief in him. Thus, he lost belief in them. He would merge into the city. He would become a criminal. He became the trickster god, and my, what tricks he would play. However, humanity tricked the trickster. It was grown far more self-reliant than any god could reckon. These new humans prayed but once a week. They did not hold their idols in regard. Perhaps the other gods had been right to disperse. Coyote does not do that. He chooses to live amongst the humans. He takes advantage of them, one at a time or in groups. Coyote became a thief. He became a spy. And in this bizarre case, became a tracker. The Range Rover slows as it reaches Calistoga. There, on the right, is the Calistoga Resort, an exclusive country club. Jackson Tate is a founding member. He drives past the security gate, and the guard waves him in. "Put the gun away, Freya," Jackson says. "If I wanted you dead, that man would have handled it for me. Let's all be friends now." Apollo looks to the back seat. He shrugs. "He may have a point." Freya holds the gun close. She's not giving it up, but at least she's not aiming it at anyone. Finally, the Range Rover comes to a stop in front of what's known in the club as a cottage. This particular cottage boasts 8 bedrooms and 6 full baths. The trio enters the enormous foyer behind the front door. Jackson is very proud of his success and loves watching the expressions of those seeing it for the first time. However, this was no Olympus or Valhalla. To Apollo and Freya, it was what was to be expected on Earth for gods such as them. Somewhere between the flophouse where Apollo regained his consciousness and an acceptable place. Jackson is trying, they thought. Good on him. "Come," Jackson says. He wants to give a tour. Apollo and Freya acquiesce to this, although neither appears interested in his granite countertops or leather seating arrangements. They are, however, amazed that he has a cool breeze in the form of air conditioning and refrigerators and a stove that produces heat at the turn of a switch. Jackson notices Freya playing with the stove eyes. "You hungry?" he asks. "How do you feel about sea bass, my favorite fish?" "Never had it." "I eat a lot of salmon," she says. "Love salmon," Jackson says. "The Norwegian smoked is the best." Did they just bond? Freya looks Scandinavian, but these days, you never could tell. "Smoked salmon is my favorite. We have to get some. It's much better than Skittles." Jackpot. "Wait, what?" "There's little comparison." Jackson momentarily thought of a Skittle wrapped in cream cheese. The thought did not stay with him long. Apollo is playing with the burners. "Watch it, Apollo. That fish is $27 a pound. Let's not cook it unevenly." Apollo backs away from the stove, and Jackson takes over. One good thing about this man is that he can cook. He serves 3 plates of sea bass, accompanied by a shrimp risotto and something called kale. Kale, it turns out, is green, and is meant to be pushed aside on a plate. Freya consumes the sea bass. It is unlike anything from the oceans she has ever encountered. Apollo as well devours the dish. There is nothing remotely like it on Olympus. "This is not from the Aegean," Apollo says definitively. "Nor from the North Sea," Freya confirms. Jackson has a large mouthful of risotto he is contending with. He swallows hard. "This fish is Chilean." Apollo and Freya look at each other, confused. "You know, Chile? South America?" Apollo nods. He recalls something that Coyote said about new lands. South America must be among them, and if sea bass was any indication, its cuisine was outstanding. He tried to explain this to Freya. She was adamant that there was no such place as South America, else the Vikings would have discovered it. "Our Vikings founded Greenland and Iceland. They named them backwards because they are sneaky." "Who's to say who discovered what?" Jackson says. "They like to say Columbus discovered America, but people already lived here. Something's rotten in the state of Denmark, if you know what I mean." Freya has no idea what he means, but he is disparaging a Scandinavian territory, so that is enough to aim the gun at his chest again. Jackson is startled. "What did I say?" "Not a big Shakespeare fan, I take it." "Denmark is a holy land. There is nothing rotten about it." "It's just an expression. Like, all roads lead to Rome," Jackson explains. This upsets Apollo. "They most certainly do not." Jackson makes a mental note to never discuss anything even vaguely associated with geography with them again. "None of the roads here do in any event." Apollo nods. He is satisfied. Freya, however, still fumes. "When Rome fell, word reached the Germanic people slowly. It took many more years for us to learn of its demise." Jackson nods, although he's really not sure why. They eat the rest of the meal in silence. After dinner, Jackson shows Apollo a special room. It has around 30 guitars lining the wall. Autographed photos with musical legends, including Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger, are prominently displayed. But what confuses Apollo the most is the walls. They are white and soft to the touch. They're soundproof, Jackson explains. Please play to your heart's content. Coyote ditches the Indian bike deep in the bushes, where it is essentially invisible. Somewhere inside that gated access point, the Range Rover is parked. There would be no walking in the Calistoga Resort's front door. It's a good thing he carries bolt cutters for such an occasion. The chain link fence doesn't stand a chance.